Okay, in the last scene we saw where we were passing our object from one locator to another. Now what I want to do is say, well, what happens when the pose we want isn't just this perfect situation where we have everything without a lot of rotation. Basically I'm just sliding this around, passing it back and forth. What happens when I want to hit a mark? I have to hit an actual location or a pose with this object. I need to put it from this person's hand into this person's hand, or into this specific location. So one of the things we've got to make sure we can do, and I'm going to set up a scene here where I have my box object. Currently I have no constraints on it. I have a locator here. It's going to have to go up and place the object in a specific pose on top of this post, just like if I was going to lift something up. And then it's going to have to get carried from there down to another pose, and then from there off. And so what I need to do is I need to set up my constraints again here, kind of with my fresh constraints. Here's my parent constraint, reset settings, uncheck, maintain offset. And when I do that, it's going to snap to my yellow locator. My yellow locator then is going to carry it around. So I'm going to say at frame 1, my locator needs to be keyframed in this particular spot. My box group is being carried along because of those values. So my yellow, in 30 frames, I'm going to move it up on top of this post here into a specific pose. So I'm going to bring it up. It needs to rotate in a specific way. Maybe like maybe something like this. And let's say I want to make sure I have it on my, let's say it has to get into a pose like this. Okay, for all basic purposes it's going to be translating and rotating in space, and it needs to get dropped off right there. So I'm going to select my yellow. I've got it keyframed, so it's moving from here and up to here. Now from here I want the pink locator to take over, and it's been transferred to this other object. So at this particular point what I want to do is a seamless transfer. So that means that my pink locator needs to be in the exact position as my yellow locator. So if I tried to take all these values and match them up, I could perhaps. But if these points weren't exactly accurate, think if these had been freeze transformations, then these values might not match up. So one of the things I want to do is I want to have, this is a quick way to line things up, is to select my yellow locator, my pink locator, and I'm going to say apply. Now my pink locator has snapped into the exact same locations as my yellow. But you're probably thinking, but then if I move my yellow, I'm going to be moving the pink locator too. Well, that's true, but I'm only going to do that just to get things aligned. So I'm actually going to erase that constraint right there. But that gives me my pink locator to be matched up perfectly with my yellow when it hits that mark. Now all I have to do is change my, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my key on that position, because that's where I start from. My object's weights are going to be changed there too. So when the yellow locator gets there, it's going to drop its location. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my key. I'm going to select my pink locator and my box object group, and I'm going to constrain that, apply. So now I have on my box object 2 constraints. Yellow, 1 yellow here. So at frame 1, just like what we've done before, at frame 1, pink locator has 0 weight, so I'm going to key that. And we'll have to make those snap in just a minute. Frame 30, my yellow locator loses its possession, and my pink locator picks up the possession. Okay? I have my yellow going here. I can see the changes in weights there. So when I go to my graph editor, I simply just make those stepped. going to change my position. Blue now has it at frame 30. Blue has it. And then now I can animate my blue and say that it needs to come down here and it needs to hit a pose. Let's say it needs to land on its edge like this or something like that. Whatever the pose is, let's say it needs to do that. Whatever it is, just so that you can see that it can be posed in some way. Alright, so at frame 60 that's where it goes. So it goes to here and then it's going to go to here. I didn't set my keyframe on that, so pink. I forgot to keyframe it, so I need to do it again. I'm going to say I'm going to go from here, and I'm just going to bring it down like so, and I'm just going to rotate it a little bit in some way. Okay. Again, and then I want to make sure I keyframe that. Alright, looks like it's already keyframed just to be sure. There, I got it snapping. I got my pink object. This keyframe here needs to be moved to 30. I messed that up, so I need to move it back. Everything should just happen at simple 30 frames, every 30 frames. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to be moving this around like so. So yellow flies up to the top of the post, pink then takes control and it moves from the post down to the ground here. And at 60 I want the blue to then be in the position of the pink. So pink is going to constrain blue for a second, apply. I'm going to take that off. And then I'm going to choose my blue locator and my box, constrain it. Now my blue should gain possession. Okay, so I'll select my box node. I'm also going to keyframe that position. I'll key select that. I'll move it in a little bit. My box has my weights on it. So this is where my weights for this should be keyframed. So I'm going to key select those. This is where the weight should change from 0 to 0, and this one should be picked up at 1. And it's already like that. Back at frame 30 then, I have to change this to 0, otherwise it'll be stuck in the middle. Key selected, but then that's going to give me a little bit of a drift because my graph editor is going to be not set to steps. I should do that ahead of time, but I just like you to see what's happening so that when you see those problems pop up, you'll know what that problem is. And then I can go ahead to frame 90, move my box onto a new, wrong thing here. Don't want to move that. I want to move my blue pointer here, so I want to make sure I move my blue locator off, and maybe it just flies away or whatever, and it can rotate negative 180 degrees or something like that, so it just kind of spins around and it flies off. So in the end I've got these things happening. I got a transference of possession from one object to another and changing of pose, and that's what I want you that's what I wanted you to see, and that gives you the ability to kind of make sure you get things exactly where you want it. Now if you always needed to even tweak things further, you could go in and you could tweak the position of your actual box within that group, because we're moving the group, but that still gives us the ability to keyframe, believe it or not, the actual box object, this object. So if I wanted to make even more changes to it, maybe whatever, I don't know what I would want to do, but if I did, let's say I changed the scale of it, I keyframe, key selected that, and I changed the size of that object over time, and I could do something like that. Maybe I made it smaller, maybe it scales down, maybe that would make more sense. I can still change those kind of things of the actual box itself, and so that makes it kind of fun. and go here, and then I could go back up and scale it all back up again and do something different, but then it just gives me control. It scales down and then it scales up, and it gives me lots of variety. So anyway, I hope that's helpful in what you're doing. I think it's quite fascinating and interesting, but it takes some time and a lot of practice to get the ideas straight in your head. Well, have fun, and I will see you next time.